It's got a lot to do with your butt count. You gotta go back again next.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Chris Villa and I'm your mayor and I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. I want to welcome you all to the City Commission meeting of April 23rd, 2024. I want to ask you if you have any electronic devices that make any noises to silence them at this time. And I'll ask you to please stand for the invocation led by Vice Mayor Penny and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you pray with me? Dear gracious God, we thank you for the many gifts you bestowed upon us all. We ask that you place your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We ask that you protect our men and women in the armed forces as they protect our freedoms. We ask that you keep our city teammates safe as they do their jobs. God, please bless this meeting, this city, and our great country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We appreciate that. And thank you to everybody for being here with us tonight. We're going to go to number 2 on our agenda, which is our public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak about anything not on our agenda tonight. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will call you up. Her hand went up first. Ms. Dibble, you can come on up. And just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Kimberly Dibble. I live at 824 Lakewood. I actually have a question, and it relates to the Sheriff's Department. Actually, running the Holly Hill Police Department at this point. What has to be done, and I asked you on Facebook, you didn't answer, what has to be done to make them permanent?
This is public comments. You can say whatever you'd like right now. This is not question and answer. Go ahead.
I would like to see them, as would other residents, like to see them become permanent. We need to do something about all the drug houses like the one on Frommish, that when I moved into my house, there was one right on the corner. Penny Curry knows that because she lives on the other side of it. And it took them 3 years to knock it down, okay? With derelict stealing and everything else. We need to do better as a city to protect our children and the residents. And I think you all need to do better to make sure that happens. I and other residents have stated that they would like to see the Sheriff's Department take over. Who do I find? Is there someone I can ask about that?
Yeah, I'll address comments after public comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak about anything in the back? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
David Knopf, 460 Ridgewood, Holly Hill. I have something to talk about. It's probably not a comfortable subject, but I notice we do invocation every week, and I'm a baptized and confirmed Episcopalian myself, and I'm really upset about this genocide in Palestine, and I was just wondering if you would consider passing a resolution for a ceasefire in Palestine, because I think if I see one more mutilated child, I'm going to flip out. And that's my comment.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir. Mr. Hobson. Just state your name and address for the record.
Jordan Hobson, 1610 Birmingham Avenue. I just want to say 2 quick thank yous. I live a couple streets down from the house, the notorious house off Flomich, and after the arrest in the bus, I saw City Manager Joe Forte up there from a distance, and I could tell that, I'm just happy that everything was taken care of and clear. So I appreciate that, because I would wake up early in the mornings and I could hear people screaming and yelling. That seems to have ceased, because I'm not next door, but I'm literally parallel to them. a couple streets over. Another quick thank you is, I wanted to thank the city for the involvement and helping us with the move of the Historical Society itself to the Sika Hall. I know we have plans for you guys to come help us move the larger items, and I just want to say thanks beforehand. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hobson. Mr. Varga, you had your hand up. Take your time, and when you get to the podium, just state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
My name is Gabriel Varga. My home address is 1226 Gamble Place, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm the pastor of the Ridgewood Avenue Baptist Church and the Daytona Rescue Mission, 501 Ridgewood Avenue. Just like to quote a scripture and then say a couple things. Luke 16:19. There was a certain rich man. Matthew 12:30. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these, and to love him with all the heart, with all the understanding, with all his soul and all his strength. To love his neighbor as himself is more than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices. Verse 38, and he said unto them in his doctrine, beware of the scribes which love to go long clothes and love salutations in the marketplace. But I say unto you, which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, for if you love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those who love them. But love your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great, and you shall be called of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and unto the evil. The Bible has great commandment, the first and great commandment. I know most of you probably heard this if you have anything to do with Christianity at all, and I know that when you take the side of the Lord Jesus Christ, you'll have enemies, because the Lord Jesus said, they've hated me and they'll hate my disciples. And so I know I have enemies, and people can say, well, I'm not your enemy. I know that I have enemies, and I pray for them, and I love them. We've got to have a change in Holly Hill. We've turned away from the families, recreation, the children, and the family unit. We've torn down their baseball field. We've torn down their basketball field. We've torn down their park across the street over here. And we sold out to the millionaires from Ormond Beach. I don't know why they didn't build their pickleball in Ormond Beach. I guess you didn't want them over there. But anyway, what you're going to have to do, we're going to have a change in the attitude. We've long overdrawn we have professional politicians here. We have a two-time mayor that's trying to run for a third time when it says he's only supposed to be 2 times and out. He says he's getting better than sliced bread, that he's going to go for a third time. Well, we need to change. We need to get some people that run the politics in this country, in this city of Holly Hill, that will be for the people and for the families again, and not for the private pickleball clubs that you have to have a private membership. And when they can park on the grass of City Hall. And I've had some comments on that, really, from people I didn't even think would comment on it. And they got a free ride. $5.2 million taxpayer money. Well, you can just listen. Don't shake your head no. That's kind of rude, ma'am.
Address me as the chair.
Well,
Thank you.
why she gonna sit there and shake her head rude? $5.2 million of taxpayer money. $2.3 million from Holly Hill and $3.4 million from Echo. You're for sale. We need to get a new regime in here. God bless you all. We're praying for you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that, in the audience that would like to? Yes, sir, Mr. Legary. And sir, you'll be next. Who raised? Oh, you. Yeah, come on up, Mr. Legary. When you get to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
I'm Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I would like for I just can't understand how we can debate modern times. I don't understand how a tax-free institution such as the Right Reverend has can speak to the delegation of tax money. For many of you were at the CRA meeting, and I addressed what I thought would be a really marvelous idea. We have determined that the motels in the junkyard have to go, and we can't quite figure out how to do that. I would like to suggest that those people that own those properties get a piece of a development that we design, not somebody from out of town, not somebody that has a profit in mind. And we share those, we share. If you were to build a 5-story building on Ridgewood, you could probably absorb the motels at their current rates. If we were to involve unions, if we were to involve the people at pickleball, if we were to involve as many organizations as we can, and I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, strong towns and various other different things have incorporated what I'm suggesting here. If you take a developer profit out of the picture and condo these units, I believe it'll work. I believe you could incorporate a great many architects and design people from the colleges. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone, sir, do you still want to speak? Yes, sir. And just state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. I'm George A. Clark, 551 North Lincoln Street, Daytona Beach, Florida, 32114. And I'm here not to take sides with anyone, but I support my friend, Gabriel Varney. I've known him since, when was that, the 60s, 70s, when you come to Daytona Beach.
And sir, just please speak into the mic, because it's all recorded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I met him And when he first come to Daytona Beach, he was trying to form a mission in Daytona. He never was able to do that. Because the Bible has said that when you truly, as he mentioned earlier, you truly follow Jesus, people going to be against you, but you have to love them anyway. And I like to say this too, when we put our hand on the flag, on our heart, and salute the flag in that last line, with liberty and justice for all, if you don't do it, you'll lose it. I'm not wishing that. I got no power. I guarantee you, when you speak something with your mouth and don't put action to it, it's going to leave. You be blaming somebody else, but sometimes our own conduct put us in that. And I pray that things will work out peaceful for you all. And that's what the world needs now is peace. P-E-A-C, peace. If anything in the world we need now is peace. And we have to learn to forgive and say thank you. Oh, praise God's name. And Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Now stand in the way of the sinners. Now sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. And on his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall back a tree planted by the river of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in its seasons. His leaves also shall not wither. And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I love you. God bless you. And this is my friend. We work 20 or 30 years with the volunteer police chief department, chaplain, We worked as police chaplains. I didn't want to be no police, but I wanted to keep people from getting in trouble in the first place.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service.
If you don't love one another, we're alive. You lose your freedom. You claim one nation under God, and you say that and don't do it. Some people do it on purpose.
If you're going to keep talking, stay at the mic for the rest of your minutes. You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. We just had to keep it all recorded. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission tonight about anything not on our agenda? Just raise your hand. Yes, sir. Bye-bye. Seeing nobody, going once, going twice. All right. I'm going to close public comments. And normally, so Mrs. Dibble, the way it works, this isn't a question and answer. It's a time for the community to come up, speak your mind, say whatever you'd like. And just so you're aware, Facebook is not my official speaking, and so if you ever want to get a hold of me, you have my cell phone number to answer you directly here tonight, because you came here with a question about going to the sheriff's office. This did come up in a previous commission meeting. We all spoke about it and all unanimously agreed that we would put out the job position of the chief, and those applications are coming back May 5th. There's, as I understand already, many applicants. I forgot the amount, but so those are going to come in. We're going to evaluate those. We fully stand behind our police officers and our police department. And now, with that being said, Sheriff Chitwood is a dear friend of mine. We talk very often. And so I've been speaking with him throughout. We are very grateful to him and the sheriff's office for helping us through this turbulent time right now within the police department. So we're grateful, and he's willing to stand by us in any support level that we want, which is a good thing moving forward. And so we're standing behind our police department to make sure to rebuild that. Now, you can tell it's election season because, man, we have a lot of different things coming up here tonight. So it's only going to get better and better as we get closer. Good thing I'm terming out. So I'll leave it at that. If anyone else would like to comment on anything, I will allow that. But with that being said, we'll move to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the April 9th regular City Commission meeting and April 16th, 2024 special called City Commission meeting. Do we have any questions about the minutes or any changes? Seeing none, I'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Johnson. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to the consent agenda. We have items 1 through 5. Would a city commissioner, do you need to
No, he just needs to get the pickleball bag out of my truck. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, well, we'll move to the consent agenda, items 1 through 5. Is there any commissioner that would like to remove any item on the consent agenda for discussion? All right. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about anything on our consent agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comments, and I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion. And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. There's no discussion required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to our regular agenda tonight. And we have 3 items to discuss. The first one is Resolution 2024-R-26. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2024-R-26 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, awarding a contract to Mead and Hunt, Inc. for water utility optimization and resilience improvement engineering services, authorizing the city manager to negotiate rates and enter into an agreement, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
And before we do this, Mr. Forte,
Yes, sir.
I'm looking here to, actually, never mind. Go, move forward with this.
You're done?
Yeah, never mind.
This is just a follow-up from the work session the special meeting that we had at the last Tuesday, where we had presentations by the 2 firms. The Commission selected Mead Hunt to move forward with this plan, and this is the formal agenda item awarding the contract to Mead Hunt.
All right, is there any further staff presentation?
Nothing beyond what we didn't go over at the last special meeting.
Okay. I see the applicant is here. Would you like a moment to talk before opening it up to public comments? Sure. All right. All right, so with that, what we'll do is there any questions for staff from this commission? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Penny for approval and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? I just want to thank staff and the applicant for slowing this process down so that way the City Commission could take a look at this. And I want to thank our partner in engineering, Mead Hunt, for everything you do for this city. And it isn't lost on us that over $10 million of that grant money was brought to us because of your diligence and looking out for us. So we appreciate that, and I hope there's many more federal and state grants in the future coming our way, and just want to thank you publicly. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to number 2, which is 2024-R-27. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2024-R-27 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fee for a body-worn camera public records request, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Forte.
So, Mayor, our current fee schedule for body-worn camera public records request is that the first 15 minutes is free, and then they charge 52 cents a minute thereafter. And what I learned when Lieutenant Tucker was working on some body-worn camera requests is that it's a lot more detailed than what I was initially provided when the previous chief came up with that fee of offering for 15 minutes for free. Somebody has to go through the body-worn camera, the video, identify the section that's being requested, and then they've got to go through and I didn't realize this, they have to redact the video, meaning that if an officer is sitting in the car and the video is on and it glances at the computer monitor, that has to be blocked. Certain things that are spoken has to be blocked, and it's very, very time consuming. So what they're asking for is a $30 deposit, and from that deposit, once the information is collected and redacted, if there's a higher cost to it, the person requesting the video will need to pay the higher cost, or if there's a credit due, the people will be given a credit out of that $30 deposit. So the 52 cents a minute is a fair number. We're just requesting that the deposit be added so that somebody doesn't make a bunch of body-worn camera requests and then never come in and get it and pay for it.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
No.
All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. All those, is there any discussion needed?
I would just like to quickly say that I understand the labor-intensive work for public records, period, but body cam is even more so. So I definitely agree with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now, item number 3 is Daytona Climbing Incentive Agreement. Mr. Manager.
So, Mayor, I'm going to ask you to delay this until after the public hearings, because the first item on your public hearing is actually the PD agreement for the rock climbing business. And the purpose of the incentive agreement is, after you hear all of the information about the PD agreement, I want you to go back and reaffirm what your intentions are for the incentive agreement.
That's
There's
right.
no sense in me getting into those details until you hear the details of the PD. So if we could just push that off till after.
Yep, I agree. Is there any objection to holding off on this item for now? Seeing no objection, we'll move to our public hearings. Our first public hearing is ordinance 2024-0-3076 for first reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3076 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by rezoning the parcel described in Exhibit A from CC1 Commercial Corridor District to BPUD, Business Plan Unit Development, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mayor, Commission. Route 1 climbing PD rezone. This is a proposal to rezone a property from CC1 Commercial Corridor District to BPUD and to approve the associated development agreement and the preliminary plan. The parcel is approximately 1.85 acres in size, and it's located near the northeast corner of the intersection of Ridgewood Avenue and 6th Street. The address is more commonly known as 627 Ridgewood Avenue. The property is going through this request for a rezone because the applicant would like to build an 8,000 square foot, 46 foot high building that will serve as a rock climbing facility. The south and west sides of the building will provide glassed portions as shown on an attachment in your staff report titled Elevations, and the overall finish will be metal siding. So, Val, can you bring up elevations? If you bring up the south and west, and this will give you an idea. So that's sideways. I don't know if we can flip it.
Turn it to the left.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're looking at on the south elevation, if you were coming north into the city, this is what you would see. That first floor area is glass, and then there on the left side.
Hey, Val, could you dim the lights, please? So you can see there's so much glare. Thanks.
So you see kind of the panels of 3, 2, 1. Those are glass panels that will join, you see the south elevation now, if we go to the west elevation, there, so they will form a corner. So you'll have a corner of the building that will be glassed in and give what is expected to be a very a unique look for this property with regard to the rock climbing facility inside. Also, with this request, it's not going to just be a rock climbing facility. It's expected that they would also be probably selling things associated with rock climbing gear, things associated with the sport, perhaps in the future, drinks and things of that nature. So those would be usual and customary type things associated with this type of a development. The site also proposes an area of future expansion to the east of the current proposed building, and this area of future expansion proposes a building up to 6,500 square feet. At this time, the land is vacant, and the development of the property will be guided by a development agreement and the list of permitted uses as well as the development standards such as enhanced buffers and landscaping. The project is proposed to occur in 2 phases. So the applicant is requesting that Phase 2, which would be the 6,500 square foot building to the east in the future, be handled and approved as a minor amendment. This means that Phase 2, should the commission approve this request, would be approved at staff level and not returned to the city commission for approval. If they were to submit the second phase and it were to be a major amendment, then they would have to come back along with all of the advertising and associated documents. But if it's handled as a minor amendment, it's handled at staff level and is considered to be a quicker and more simple process. In your staff report, it does show the zonings that are surrounding the particular parcel. There's also a site analysis. I won't go into every aspect unless you have something specific you'd like me to discuss. In reviewing the rezone application is looked at to see if it meets the criteria in Section 82-372. Each of those criteria, there are 8 of them that are in your staff report. I won't go over every item, but I will say that the rezoning request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comprehensive plan and the land development regulations, as well as the pattern of development in the area. Staff did not see anything in the applicant's proposal that did not meet the requirements of Section 82-372. Based on that, staff recommends that the City Commission adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from CC1, Commercial Corridor District, to BPUD, Business Plan Unit Development, with the associated development agreement and preliminary plan for approximately 1.85 acres located near the northeast corner of the intersection of Ridgewood Avenue and 6th Street, and more specifically known as 627 Ridgewood Avenue. That concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you, Mr. Walker. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Is that the applicant? Come forward, and if there's anything that he missed or anything you want to address specifically with us, please do so. And then afterwards, I'll open it up for questions from the commission, for staff, and for the applicant. And then after that, we'll open it up to public comments. And during public comments, I usually just ask the applicant to listen. If there's any questions, if you could address those afterwards. So.
Okay, perfect. I'm Spencer Kershaw with Zev Cohen Associates. I represent.
Slow it down. What's your name? I'm sorry.
Spencer Kershaw, Zev Cohen Associates. I represent Daytona Climbing. I'd like to thank staff for the presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So nothing to add at this time? Okay. I just have a couple questions. When is the timeline that you guys are thinking for starting groundbreaking and develop?
If all goes well here, then we're moving to applications and permitting, and we'll have 6 months for that, and then once we get that, then 9 months to a year.
Okay. And do you know roughly yet how long the estimated time frame is to build it?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for you, unless, is there any other questions for the applicant? Yes, ma'am.
Just one. My concern is, we've been working on this for, what, a year now?
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as the timeline, I don't want this to drag out 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, we dealt with this, we had a couple different meetings about a year ago, and I kept asking what's going on with it, and changes were being made, but I just want to know a little bit of a better timeline.
Yeah.
Because I don't want this going to 3, 4, 5 years, like I said.
Okay. Yeah, our plans are pretty much set to submit, so once we get our approval here, we can go into immediate site permitting, and we should be done, hopefully pretty quickly after that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are there any further questions for the applicant? All right, none, oh, yes.
This part. No,
Okay.
The other part, I think, yeah.
None at this time. Thank you very much. Mr. Walker, could you come forward, please? My question is, I didn't see this in the packet. So before we had, and maybe it's to you, Joe, but before we gave them till sometime in June 28, 2024, and I know this is a separate item that we're going to talk about next, but are we placing any timeline to be able to get that, or is that just strictly in the next item that we're going to talk about?
That'll be discussed by the...
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Does that timeline that he mapped out sound what it would be to get through permitting from your department?
Permitting through the department, at this point, once we get approved site plan, once we get a site plan which would address everything from a horizontal perspective, it could conceivably, if there's quick responses on both sides, within 2 or 3 months, we could get approved site plan. From there, we would have a pre-construction or basically a construction meeting, pre-construction meeting, and once that happens, I don't know how long it will take them to build the building, but once that happens, they maybe could conceivably build it within a year. But I would say you're looking, if all goes very well, in my non-professional construction opinion, I would say you're looking at least a year and a half to 2 years to a finished product.
Okay, and my last question is, Commissioner Danio has brought up over the years a good idea of that he's seen in other cities, which are monumental signs that really catch the attention of people. And since this is a PUD, I just kind of want to throw it out there to have some kind of rock, a unique sign that incorporates, rock climbing or rocks going up the wall or whatever have you. So my question to that is, to you, Mr. Walker, is if they were to do something like that, would that need to be in the PUD, or could that be separate or worked out just through staff at your level?
I would get it in the PD. I would recommend that if that's something that you'd like to see, that you make that a condition of the PD. What you wouldn't have at this point, unless they could quickly come up with it, would be a rendering. But you could say that a rendering would be something that needs to be approved or reviewed by the city manager and development director. And
would you need a rendering by the second reading, or no? Or could you just use words to describe, some type of monumental sign?
I would suggest that if you're going to make it a requirement to have a monumental sign, that you have a rendering.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there further questions for staff? Yes, sir.
It sounds like we're in consensus worried about the timing of this development. Is it possible to put a time limit on the PUD? For example, not towards the CO, but let's begin construction within 18 months, or can you sunset a PUD? Can you change it with an 18-month reverter clause? If you don't start construction and pull permits in 18 months, it's going back to CC1.
There are jurisdictions that have a life on a PD. In fact, the previous jurisdiction where I worked had that. Staff's issue with that, while I believe it can be done, but you're in essence rezoning the property back to CC1 but without the public hearings and everything that typically goes along with a rezone. So the city attorney would know better than I, but I tend to not recommend that.
My concern is that,
You can expire the development agreement, but you cannot automatically rezone back to a prior zoning. You have to go back through the rezoning process. So what you typically see is development agreements that expire, and I haven't seen 18 months, I've seen like 5 years, things like that. And I don't know if it's triggered to starting work or the CO being issued. We could pull that language up. But what happens is if they don't comply, whatever was required to be done by a certain time period, they got to come back and renegotiate the development agreement, but the zoning stays in place. You just can't automatically rezone back. That takes an ordinance and notice.
it sounds like I can't do what I want to do, but my concern is if it turns into like the snow cone shop on Nova, that gets rezoned, and then the developer leaves town, it'd be much easier to sell this vacant lot as a CC1 than with the PUD, because now the new purchaser is going to have to go through the entire process all over again, but it's not a possibility.
A lot of people who are developing today prefer PUDs because of the flexibility of being able to negotiate a site, development regulations specific for that site. So my experience has been the PDs, any type of PUD, plan unit development, is usually preferred over what I'd call like CC1 or straight zoning, just because of the flexibility. So I don't think that would happen. And what happens is this is very specific to a use.
Right.
So if they don't go forward with it, whoever comes in is going to want to change it to do something else most likely.
Right, and that's my concern. If whoever buys it, if this doesn't happen, is going to want to change it to something, and CC1 is much broader than this PUD, because the only thing that can be built is that building.
Yeah, CC1's very broad. See, like when you get a PUD, the nice thing about it is y'all have a pretty good idea what's going there. With CC1, you don't have a clue.
Right.
It can be anything. Anything that you go through all those listed uses that are allowed in CC1, and as long as it meets the developable envelope, any use can go in there.
Yes. Yep. You talked about the development agreement. If we put a timeline on that to sunset it, that would pretty much, I think, be what we're looking for. Am I correct?
That would put a time frame where, for them to have an incentive to get whatever you say, you got to do something by a certain date. And if you don't get to that date, then you're going to have to come back in and renegotiate and extend it.
I guess my concern is, we've kind of been bitten once by the Center Street project. This one has already taken a year before I'm seeing a new PUD. And I just don't want this to go on for, like I said, 3 to 5 years or more. I would like a little more guarantee than what we had over here, because I kind of learned from that.
And we may be able to handle it simply through the
Incentive agreement.
Incentive agreement.
That's what I was going to say.
I do have one more question for you, young man, if you don't mind coming up there. Do they currently have the financing for this project, or do they have to go out and get financing?
I think they're working on getting financing.
Okay, so we don't have financing yet.
Well, I think he's telling me they do.
I'll wait on him.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you can come forward if you want. And just state your name and who you are in the project.
Oh, okay.
Bobby Ball with Zevco and Associates, Worker Spencer. And in talking with Matt, the part of the process and the delay was construction costs have gone through the roof.
Yes, I agree with that.
So they've been working on the construction budgeting and then getting financing. It's my understanding that they have recently obtained that, which is what put us back on the path of moving forward.
Right.
So at this point, I believe they do have the financing.
I know a couple of the people that are involved with this project. They both used to be police explorers for my husband and I. I know their desire to have this built here. I just need a little more, I guess, security, thank you, that it's going to be in a timely manner and we're not looking at this. So if we can do it through the agreement, I'll be happy with that. That's fine.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Right, we're going to go back to number 3 on,
If it's about the incentive agreement, yeah, that's going to come the next item, so.
That's where
This
we
is
can
strictly
kinda-
about the rezoning,
Right.
about the PUD.
that's what I thought. That's where we got a
Okay.
little more leverage.
Before we open it up to public comments, is there any quasi-judicial, this is a quasi-judicial, is there any ex parte communication?
Not this time. I did for the last one.
Disclosed.
That I disclosed, but it's been a year,
All right.
so.
Seeing that there's no ex parte communication, with that, I'll open up this to the audience. Yes, sir, in the back.
Then was it just the incentive agreement purchase thing deal? Okay.
Yes, sir, and state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes.
David Knopf, 460 Ridgewood, Holly Hill. I have nothing negative to say about the project. I think it's really a great thing for Holly Hill, and there's no drugs and alcohol involved. But I look at that building, and to me, it looks like it's going to be a 35 or 45-foot tall tobacco barn. There's no embellishments on it. There's no neon, there's no mural, there's nothing. It's just a big, giant metal building, and the tallest metal building probably on Ridgewood. And what is it, you know, you look at it, what is it, a warehouse, tobacco barn? It just looks ugly to me. It needs something, some pizzazz, something a little bit more than what it is now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Knopf. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Kimberly Dibble, 82 Sandy Hook. Without the funding, I like what Ms. Curry said, without the funding confirmed, the city should have that before they are agreeing to rezone a property to allow this person to come in and do that. They're not even here, they're represented, number one. Number two, I do not believe that if there are any changes that are made, they should have to come back into the commission and do it. It shouldn't be allowed by the staff. It should have to come before the commission. That's what the commission's here for, to look at this the same way as when it comes in, if it's not running the way it should be. I know what the Center Street property is because I live right by it, and that is a mess over there. That property was supposed to be not just medical billing, it was supposed to do a bunch of commercial development and stuff like that. None of that has happened. And I don't want to see something else like this happen. I mean, we've got storage units going on in Ridgewood, and this almost looks like a storage unit. So that's part of the problem. But I do think that the commission should definitely have to confirm anything that isn't up and within the actual development agreement. It shouldn't go to staff. That's why you guys are here.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Commissioner, former commissioner.
Arthur J. Burns, 294 Jeffrey Avenue, Holly Hill. I followed this a little bit a year ago, and I didn't commit it to memory, and I'd like to, my questions, I guess, are really more for the operators than the construction folks, but is this planned to be a place where kids and adults can get together to do the rock climbing, and similar to the two fine facilities we have on the north end?
They actually have one in.
Wait, just let him get his time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Similar to the two fine facilities we have on Nova Road at the north end of the city, and part of Holly Hill's reach out to help kids and families have things and places to go. You know, we heard comments during public participation that we're ignoring those folks, and this seems to be a good thing, and I'm hoping that they have the financing, because that's always the biggest issue. And it would be nice to find out if there's what kind of costs for people to use it. I know it's hard to predict a cost for something that may not open for a year with inflation and such, but it'd be nice to have an idea of what charging by the hour, or you have to have a membership, something along that line. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comments. Thank you for those great comments. And to just go over it again, I think, Mr. Burns, you brought up a good point. And I know you've sat up here for many years, and sometimes, we go through things many times, and you go through agendas and you understand the project, and then sometimes you have people show up that possibly may not know the backstory of what this is. So to directly address your question, yes. So the city's been fortunate to work with other developers to come to provide opportunities to our youth. In fact, one of the commissioners, Commissioner Johnson, actually has a place for baseball and soccer and all of that. And so this is right in that same vein. And so when the developer came, when the property was for sale, there was a couple people who offered to purchase the property, but the use wasn't great for the community. And so the actual applicant's not here today, but when they came forward, they had this vision of building a rock climbing place, and as Mrs. Curry was already saying, they do already have a rock climbing facility in, I believe, Daytona or South Daytona. And so they want to move it here and make it a really great facility. We're recognized, Volusia Sports Center is recognized as one of the best baseball training facilities in Volusia County, and we're proud to have that here. Flight Gymnastics that came a couple years ago is recognized as one of the best gymnastics and the only Ninja Warrior course in Central Florida. And so it's looked at as a great project, and we were happy to work with those developers to come in to bring that here. And furthermore, they provide scholarships to needy kids. So this project fits right into that whole mold of what we're trying to do here, to create opportunities here in Holly Hill that people want to come to our city, also feed our residents with things to do. So this is definitely something that families come and participate, but also there's avid rock climbers that will travel all over from the state of Florida to come here and to be a part of it. They have a website, and I think their business plan is roughly going to stay the same. I know there's like a monthly thing that you can do to be a part of it, and then I think a daily fee as well, what have you. But, so when this project came forward, we decided that we wanted to work with them. This was the best use for that property. And so, a couple of things that we're talking about here, I'm just going to kind of go right into discussion, is a couple of things we're talking about is the funding in place? Well, they own the property already, and so what we're doing, I think, here tonight with this PUD is committing to what we have said previously about this facility, that we think the use is great for our community. I think it's a good use for that property, and so that's what we're approving here, and I still firmly believe that. I think it's a great project, and I want it to be built as fast as possible. But they already own the property to the point to where if we don't approve this tonight and it stays CC1 and they can't develop this, then they'll just have to look to sell, and at that point, we won't have any control over who gets to buy it. Yes?
Can I just make a couple comments?
Yes,
I want to maybe bring us back to really why we're here. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. They are asking to rezone a piece of property.
Right.
So the question is there substantial competent evidence to support the rezoning?
Right.
Substantial competent evidence is based on comparing this to our regulations and including our comprehensive plan. You heard staff recommendation, that's substantial competent evidence. You've heard our planning board recommendation, that's substantial competent evidence. I get a little concerned when we start saying, is this good for the community? That's not what we're looking, this is a formal hearing here, and I just want to make sure we stay focused on this. Whether or not they have funding is not part of our criteria. We don't look at that for developers. That's not, if we want to, we could put that possibly into our regulations. I think it's relevant to say, we want this thing built within a certain period of time. That you can do in the development agreement, but I don't want us getting into saying, well, we want to see proof of financing or anything like that. I don't want to go down that road. And the focus needs to be on, is there competent, substantial evidence to support the approval of or the denial of the rezoning? This isn't
And Mr.
legislative
Simpson-
action.
and Mr.
So
Simpson-
that's what we want to focus on.
So that's exactly where I'm going, is
Okay.
that the financing is irrelevant in this situation. When I say it's good for the community, what I mean is this the best use for that property, the highest and best use? And that's what we have to look at in a PUD, because a PUD, we can decide that, it doesn't meet those standards.
You have a
So-
little more flexibility with negotiating the PUD.
Right.
But it's not we're not doing a comprehensive plan change where we're setting policy legislative action where you have a lot of discretion
No,
to say.
I fully understand.
So
What
I just
I'm
wanna make
saying
sure
is
we're narrowed
the vision that we have talked about over the years is still there completely, and I'm fully in support of that. And so wanted us to bring us back to that. So that's my comments, and if there's any other comments, you can do that, or I'll entertain a motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Do you want to make any amendments that were discussed?
Well, actually, yes.
There's,
Sorry.
Well,
Ms.
just put
Manning?
it in your motion.
I'll make a motion for approval with
what you could
an
do-
agreement for the monument sign, but I don't know, do we need more
What you
particular
might be
than
able to
that?
do is just say, for second reading, please bring back some type of proposed monument sign, as the mayor discussed, and secondly, come back to an agreed-upon date that this development agreement will expire. And we can bring back a firm date that we say, okay, this will expire on this date if they don't, if y'all want that. That's up to y'all.
Before you make that full motion,
Okay.
I just want to say that I think that we don't need to include the expiration, because
I
it's,
think we're dealing with that on a different.
right.
Okay.
I think that's where you're headed.
So, Ms. Manning, I'll make a motion to approve with the stipulation for the monument sign.
For second reading.
For second reading, yes, thank you.
And Mayor, could I make one comment before you go?
Yes, sir, but we have a motion on the floor.
No, but I
Would
mean,
you like to
this-
second it? We'll have discussion after there's a second. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Do you second the motion?
Sure, I'll
Okay.
second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Would you mind
you can
letting me
let
go first? All right, Commissioner Johnson.
I mean, they have a lot of question, people have questions whether it's relevant or irrelevant about the financing part, but it's a sports facility that I think is good for kids, adults, families, and it brings the kids and their families together, like I tried to do the same thing, you know what I mean? And Matt tried to do the same thing. And when Matt started his at Flight Gymnastics, it went way over budget, what he was expecting to spend, but he made it happen. So the same thing with me. It started out when it was in the COVID, as you well know, what they say, the finance was going up like 20% a month. I mean, finance is 20% a month for construction costs and all that stuff and all. And it probably cost me at least twice as much as I expected to spend on mine. But I made it happen. You can make it happen. You just say, I know the project will work, I know it's good for the people, I know it's good for the community, and I know for sure it's good for the way I look at it, because I want to make Holly Hills a full-time sports capital. Daytona's a sports capital, but then they're more part-time, you know what I mean? So I'd like to see Holly Hill be a full-time with all the sports we have here in the city, and it'll happen. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about it happening. If we give them approval, get them get started, they'll get started, they'll keep going, and it'll go till it gets to the end. No, that's all I have to say about it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
And I
Maker
do
of the
have-
motion.
I wasn't trying to make a big deal out of the financing, I was just asking. So I was aware. I know that this is a good project. We discussed it a year ago. We were happy with it then. It's just going to blend more into our community, which is, I guess, the train is starting to turn for sports. So it's a good thing. I mean, his facility is very successful. Flight Gymnastics is very successful. They have a very successful business in South Daytona, and there's no reason for me to believe it won't happen here. And I know at least 2 of the young men are from Holly Hill. So that makes me even more excited about having this project, because they wanted to bring it back here. So I am in favor of this, obviously, I'm the maker of the motion, but I do support this. I think it's right in line with what's happening with our community today.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We want full-time sports. How's that?
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor.
I'm in full support of it, but I'm a little apprehensive about the amendment to the signing requirement. And I only say that because this isn't going to be a place you're going to drive past and see a fancy rock sign. Oh, I need to go in and climb a rock today. This is going to be a destination area. When you drive past Roy's Place, you don't see a giant soccer ball or football or baseball out there. Flight gymnastics, they have a pretty plain sign. I mean, well, they have a digital sign. So I'm just concerned that when we're talking about financing 8, 9, 10% right now, construction costs going through the roof. The last thing they're going to put up is a sign, and it could easily cost $40,000 to $50,000 to put up a sign of what I think you guys are talking about. And if they come back with the sign design, we're going to sit here and we're going to design it by committee, and none of us know anything about signs, except they are expensive. And we're going to want it bigger and taller and brighter and neon lights on it. And you could basically stop this whole project if we require them to put a 50 or 60,000 foot sign in front of the place. I think the building is going to be a sign. That big glass area, when it's lit up at night, that's going to be the sign. So I'll support the motion, but I don't know that I will support it at second reading if the sign is still in there, because I'm afraid it could handcuff the development. These bunch of young kids, we're worried about financing, and we're going to slap them with another $50,000 to put up a sign. You might just kill the whole project.
Yeah, and before we amend the motion or anything, as you said, I know you're for the project, so you can vote for it tonight, first reading. On second reading, if it's really a sticking point, then we can take that out, but if...
Yeah, if it's too cost prohibitive...
They might go to Don Bell and find out this is a $100,000 sign, and then...
Or it may already be in there thinking that they're...
It may be, so...
Yeah, if it's cost prohibitive, I'm not interested in...
Mr. Forte.
The problem that I see is the motion requires the monument sign to be part of the second reading. So in order for us to bring that second reading forward, they have to do the research, and they're not going to get it done in a week to get this by the second.
There's no way they're going to have it designed and...
So I don't want to chase them down a rabbit hole of, we might require you to have a monument sign.
Let me ask you a question that, I mean, in your talks with them, have they talked about such a sign? I mean, I know in my discussions with you privately, I've brought up the idea.
We talked about a unique sign with them. You know, you can't put a boulder out there that looks like it can be climbed on, because it will be climbed on.
That is true, that is true.
So maybe Bobby knows.
Yes, you can speak. You're the applicant. Yep.
Bobby Ball with Zevco and Associates again. I think you're spot on, because when we've talked with Matt about the project, the building itself was to be the sign. I think the glass glowing at night is exactly what they were shooting for, and I do kind of think that a sign can be pretty expensive, and that might delay things. It's a good point. So I could answer that question in some ways, and to try to get a cost for a sign might be real difficult.
So in your conversations, you don't think they're planning something like that?
I don't think they were. I think they were trying to put their effort and their dollars into the building, which is where the activities are performed, as opposed to something out front.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Daniel.
Kind of what, backpedaling a little bit, it was my sort of suggestion that seemed to kind of get you thinking in that. I think if we were going to do this for this project, we should have had this long in place for other projects, because the whole idea of what I was talking about a few years back was to have a theme that runs throughout the city. Not necessarily that these guys got to start it, but, you know, it would have already been in place. That's something that we could maybe look at with that CRA part of the ideas. You know, when I was talking about Dothan, when everybody had a peanut something, you know, these guys, we don't want to handcuff them, like you say, because of
No, I don't.
something that would be a citywide theme. So I kind of agree.
We could change the sign grant with the CRA renewal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've got other options in the future, but I think we're kind of putting a little bit of a...
Scott, do I need to withdraw my motion if that's the case?
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest thing, is you could withdraw your motion, Roy can withdraw his second, then you can make a new motion
Okay.
without that
I'll-
condition.
Mayor, I'll withdraw my
And
motion.
I'll definitely withdraw my second.
All right, we have the motion withdrawn, and the floor is open for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve with no restrictions to PD.
Do we have a second?
Sorry, Ms. Manning.
I'll still second that.
All right, we have a motion, a new motion to approve as written by Commissioner Curran.
And
a
second.
from Commissioner Johnson. All
Yes,
right.
second.
Further discussion. Vice Mayor. Don't change it again.
Well, if I heard you correctly, there were two amendments to your original motion. One was the sign, and one was a timeline for the.
No.
No, no,
She
no.
didn't
No, I
go,
didn't.
she
You didn't say that?
I just had a
She was
question.
thinking about it, but she
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Okay. Never mind.
He's rough tonight.
She didn't fully commit to that one. So, is there any other further discussion?
No, sir.
All right. All right, with that being said, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to take on the same, well, different, it's the Daytona Climbing Incentive Agreement that we delayed earlier, which is number 3 on our regular agenda. Mr. Forte.
Yeah, Mayor, so continuing this forward a little bit, back in January of actually 2021, we created this incentive agreement when they purchased the property. Want me to wait?
Nope, go ahead.
When we purchased the property, so moving forward now, there's a couple of critical items in here that, I'm not saying that we changed what we were going to reimburse them, this $50,000. I just want the commission to knowingly and consciously agree that that's what they want to continue to do. So, for example, there's 4 major parts of what that incentive agreement required, plus the timing. So the first thing they needed to do was to rezone the property. Well, we're in the process of doing that. The second thing they needed to do was build a minimum of 16,000 square feet. Well, in Phase 1, they're proposing to build 8,000 square feet with a possibility of a second phase that'll have 6,000 square feet. I just don't know if Phase 2 will ever come. The third item,
16,000 square feet either.
and then it still doesn't add up to the 16,000, it only adds up to 14,000.
14.5.
And then the next thing was the construction material, and for the most part, it is consistent with what the original proposal would be. However, the requirement of having a second floor outdoor patio space and additional seating at the ground level is not proposed in Phase 1, and I don't know if it would be proposed in Phase 2. And then lastly, the 50% of the space was to be used for the rock climbing operations, and the remaining space was to be designated and constructed of leasing space to other businesses. That's not proposed in Phase 1, and maybe that would be part of Phase 2. So not knowing if there's a Phase 2 where a lot of this would still come into play. So those are the 4 items. And then lastly, the incentive agreement specifically states that if the buyer receives a certificate of occupancy from the city by June 28th for the developments described in Exhibit A, the escrow shall be released to the buyer. But if the buyer does not receive a certificate of occupancy by June 28th of 2024 for the development described in Exhibit A and delivered to the escrow agent by July 8th, the escrow agent shall release the $50,000 to the city. So this is designed that it will automatically cause the escrow agent, which happens to be Scott Simpson, his law firm, to release that escrow to the city by July 8th of 2024. So I'm not sure, Scott, if, I didn't include that in here, but do we have to then amend this agreement, or can they just do it verbally?
We probably need to have something in writing that we can obviously get finalized before the deadline's on there, but if it stays as it is, they're obviously not going to get the CO in a month, and so therefore I will be releasing the $50,000 to the city in July.
Just a small correction, in my packet it says June 8th, 2024.
It's 28th.
28th.
July.
Yeah, June 28th, did I put that in there?
No, if they don't meet it by June 28th, we get the money by
CO.
July 8th.
They're going to have a CO by June 28th, and if they don't, then I release the money July 8th, I think.
Okay, in my packet says June 8th, they need the CO. That's okay, it says it twice.
They're not going to make either date.
I know.
For 2025 either.
Oh, yeah, I have June 8th in there. It's June 28th.
That's okay. So, all right.
We will need, I will need direction from the city before July 8th to, well, really July, that's when I got to release the money. So you really have to July 8th to amend the escrow agreement, so I do not release the money to the city. Otherwise, that's what the escrow agreement says.
Okay. And Mr. Forte, and I'm sorry I had to step out very quickly, but are you recommending putting a new date on this?
Well, that's part of the discussion is, you know, I mentioned the four major parts of the incentive agreement that they're not really quite in compliance with because they're doing this in phases and we're not quite sure what phase 2 would yield. So I want the commission to knowingly and consciously either affirm that the $50,000 will still be paid to them as an incentive for a lesser product that they're delivering to us. And then, of course, we have to address the time frame.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is that we're not actually paying them that $50,000. They paid us the money. We held back $50,000 to make sure that we could get a good product here for, once again, our community and have the best, highest use for the property. So, look, the intent here always was, I think, from this commission when we first started talking about it, was to bring something that can be a regional type thing where people will travel all over from Florida and all over Volusia County to come here to this rock climbing event, also providing opportunities to our youth to get them into rock climbing and to our families. So for that reason, I think this is a great project and I'm going to be in support of that tonight. I know we're not in discussion, but I just want to put that out there now. My only question is and we're going to have to discuss this of how long do we allow that to be available through escrow? So, and I think the answer to that might be provided by the applicant to let us know how long you think it's going to take to get to the CO, or possibly staff. So if anyone has the answer to that, please feel free to raise your hand.
Well, Mayor, what I can do is, as we're bringing this back for second reading, we'll amend the incentive agreement, and we'll include, and we will have talked with Matt by that time, and hopefully he'll come back with a date. We'll put his date in there. He may say 6 months, he may say 6 years. Whatever the date is that he offers, we'll put it in there, and then at the second reading, you'll either agree or change it.
Will this require a second reading?
The ordinance, the rezoning will, yes.
The PD, but not this.
The PD. Oh, so you're saying we would deny the PD if...
No, all I'm saying is, when you do the second reading of the PD, I'll have this amendment on the same night.
It won't be part of the PD technically. It's a separate issue. So you'll vote on the second reading of the PD.
Right.
And then you'll address the development agreement and...
The incentive agreement.
The incentive agreement.
Well, that's what he's asking, is this is going to be a
You're
second.
asking us not to vote on this tonight?
There's nothing to vote on tonight. Tonight, I was just looking for direction on what to bring back.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I thought you were asking to vote.
Yeah, no, I'm just putting this forward so that,
I thought you wanted to vote also.
no, it's just based on the commission's discussion as to how we're going to move forward. So
I see, okay.
I have to amend the agreement, and
Okay.
if I amend the agreement, it's got to include these four elements that are in here, which are basically what Brian and Bobby had told you, or Spencer told you in the PD. We'll include that in the new incentive agreement.
Yeah.
And
I understand now. I thought we'd have to be setting that tonight. So the question really goes back to the applicant. When do they believe they can realistically have the CO? So with that,
and to make sure that you're in favor of
right,
the reduction.
and we'll get that consensus here. I'll hear from each commissioner. Is there any further questions though before we open it up to the public?
No.
All right, let's open this up to the public. Is anyone in the audience, would you like to speak on this item tonight? Okay. Seeing none, I will close public participation. I'll open the floor for discussion. Yes, sir.
I'm in favor, in my agenda, the things are highlighted yellow. So, we got 16,000, it's gonna be 8,000. I'm in favor of all the things where it says 50%, let's make this amendment actually the way the project is. But in the original agreement, we gave them 2 years and 5 months to get the CO. I'm not really in favor of going past 24 months. Because we talked about this being a year ago. It's actually 2 years and 4 months ago that we took action on this.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought it was a year ago.
January of '22.
Oh, wow. Time flies.
That's not what my amendment stated. Oh, someone has the wrong date on here. January 11th.
Probably me. but The actual agreement- the actual agreement is January of 2021.
So
It's even worse.
So anyhow, it's
Yeah,
been a while.
really.
So they're here, the engineers have the building designed, the architects have done all the work. They just gotta get the money and build it now. And we're gonna get them through planning within 6 months, and they can do construction in at least 12 months, so that gives them 6 months to spare. It's not that big of a building.
Any further discussion?
Um,
We'll just go around.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I agree with, I don't want to do any more than 24 months. But also, that incentive agreement is there to protect the city, just like it did with Fountainhead. They didn't receive incentives because they didn't return what was said in the incentive agreement. So there were protections in that agreement for the city, and there'll be protections in this agreement for the city. So I'm comfortable with the 24 months and comfortable in the fact that the incentive agreement is protected, just like the one with Fountainhead was protected.
Well said. Commissioner?
I'm kind of looking at it as from what Joe's statistics there, like, we're kind of 0 for 4. Isn't that how we're looking at it so far? Not a good batting average, or what?
Could look at it that way.
Okay,
And it was, I believe it was 2022, I think that.
yeah, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but,
The top of the
I
document.
mean, it's kind of like, and Fountainhead is not our only thorn. We did this with the Marina Grand. We kind of,
I
Then I'm
wasn't on
still-
the commission, so I don't remember the details of
I'm
that.
still waiting for the cafe and the restaurant.
Oh,
all
that part.
Yeah, the front. I mean, I'm okay with the incentive agreement. I'm okay with the time frame. I would just like to see that somehow or another the city gets more of what they were supposed to get. I mean, yeah, if we run a little short on, you're talking 1,500 square feet, not a big deal, but if we end up with half a building, no phase 2, I don't want to see us get burned again, because is this going to be that wow factor at 8,000 square feet that we were kind of hoping for in the beginning, that we were putting all this out, or are we going to end up on the short end again? That's my only concern.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'd just like to see it move forward as fast as possible, and I think it can be done. They already own the property, the city don't own it. City owned the property at Fountainhead, so I really think they own the property. If they can get the financing, they can make it happen, and I think they can make it happen in 2 years. It's a proven fact you can.
Yeah. And I hear you, Commissioner Denio, and I think that that's always prudent for us to have those conversations up here. But what I will say is that this project, I think, still does have that wow factor. And for all the reasons I described earlier, I think that this is a good project. So, I think the question comes down to, do you believe that we should go through with the same deal with what they're proposing now? And I think if you look at the project overall, it stands on its own. That's really what we want there. So that's why I'll be in support of this tonight. And just want to give you that confidence if that's what you're looking for. I think that's the way to think about it in your head. And I don't think that they're 0 for 4. I think they're still at bat.
Okay.
So, because they didn't necessarily, didn't fail anything. It's just taking longer.
A lot of foul tips, huh?
So, yeah.
Right.
A couple foul tips. So, with that being said, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries.
So
I'm
all you
sorry,
really did
let me
was
back
do-
up.
We didn't have a
There was
motion.
no
Yeah.
motion. This was
You're
just
giving us
discussion.
direction to come back on those terms.
Hold that, we never have just discussion up here. In my defense, never.
Well,
So,
at least you have consensus.
yes, yes. So we do have consensus there, you can tell, Mr. Forte. So for the record, once again, there was no motion, and I apologize for moving forward. But hey, you all went with it. I heard a lot of. I didn't vote.
Like, what
Well, I'm just trying to give you positive affirmation.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Do you have any further questions for us, Ms. Forte?
No, I'm good.
All right, you have your direction on that. Now we're going to move on our regular agenda. We're going to go to number 2, ordinance 2024-0-3077 for first reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3077 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Section 2-30, Salary, Health, and Life Insurance Expenses, increasing the expense allowance and honorarium for the mayor from $12,000 to 17% that of the salaries of the elected constitutional officers and school board districts each fiscal year pursuant to the salary formula in Chapter 145 Florida statutes, and for the city commissioners from $8,000 to 11.5% of the salaries of elected constitutional officers and school board districts each fiscal year pursuant to the salary formula in Chapter 145 Florida statutes, adding a health insurance benefit to commission members for dependent coverage, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Forte, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Mayor, I do have to make the change that you had brought to my attention with regard to the school board districts. That should say counties. And I said, we'll fix that going forward in the second reading. And if anybody wants to know what the dollar amounts are, I can go ahead and just verbalize that. And this percentage is based on current numbers, so that'll change as the state formulas change. And those numbers...
What's the change they're making to the title?
Where it says school board, it's got to say county...
County district?
County Commissioner.
County Commissioner? It's probably best that, because the title has to be read twice for an ordinance.
But you want to read it now?
Yeah, so you can't, if you adjust the title, we got to do first reading
Well,
again, so I can reread it.
Then to be precise, what city manager has in there is correct for the table that the state provides, meaning they put together a table of what is, what each position should make. So that is that, but then in that table, there's a column that specifically says county commissioner, and that's what this would be based on, a percentage of that.
So, for instance, for the position of mayor, it would be 17% that of the salaries of elected constitutional officers and county commissioners? Or would we eliminate constitutional officers and school board districts?
He's got on that.
So the table is technically called the salary formula in Chapter 114.
So this is the title that I
Let's
use,
see.
but that's the category it's going to be.
Yeah, it says salaries of elected constitutional officers and school board districts.
Then we probably don't need to change the title in the body. We can change the body, and maybe we need to
specifically
specify
say what column
what
it
column
is.
or something, but that is the right title then,
Okay.
because that is the table's title.
Okay.
So, okay. We don't,
So just
then you
in
can
the
go, forward. We
body.
don't need to change the title to the ordinance.
So in the second reading, that can be, make sure to put that in there, the county. Yeah, okay. All right. Mr. Forte.
That's all that I have, Mayor,
Okay.
up to the discussion of the commission.
Is there any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Yes, ma'am. Wait, just come on up and then just state your name and address, and then the time will start. You'll have 5 minutes.
Kimberly Dibble, I've already given you my address multiple
That's fine.
times.
It's all for the record.
I never heard the actual dollar amount.
I'm sorry.
that you were gonna provide.
Thank you.
He'll provide that right after. Do you have further
That's
comment?
fine, and I think it's interesting, you guys are giving yourselves a raise.
It's
I
not
came
what's
over here today, and while I was on my way over here, I saw a fire hydrant on 8th Street, that has a cone over top of it because it's knocked over. And so many things going on between giving back money that should not be given back because they didn't do what they're supposed to do. There's so much with the CRA stuff that bothers me significantly. The fact that the county's records for CRA and what Holly Hill has posted are completely different for the last 15 years. There's so many things. That was just the topper for me.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Yes, sir. Thank you, and just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Gabriel Varga. My address is 1226 Gamble Place, Daytona Beach, Florida 32118, on the pasture of the Ridgewood Avenue Baptist Church and Daytona Rescue Mission, 501 Ridgewood Avenue, Holly Hill. I don't hear real well. I'm trying to read this thing, and it says here that allowance and honorarium for the mayor from $12,000 to 17% of the salaries of elected constitutional officers and school board district each fiscal year pursuant to the salary family city commissioners from $8,000 to 11.5% of the salaries of the elected constitutional officers in school board districts pursuant to the salary formula. I'm not, it's to me, maybe I missed it in the conversation, I'm sorry if I have, but what are we talking about in real dollars? It's talking about it was this much amount, and now it's going to be a certain percent of something else that you ain't mentioned what that something else is. So, excuse me for my confusion, but it's confusing to me. I don't know if it is to anybody else. So, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, and we will provide that. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, we will close public participation. And yeah, to direct that, actually to answer your question directly, to give ourselves raises, that's not what's happening. So this is for future commissions. So, I know I term out, I leave, and, we've talked about this in previous commission meetings. I'm sorry you weren't able to hear them. They are on our YouTube as well, that you can search them. But so where this came from is, so I'm not going to be on the commission any longer. I term out, as was stated before, and I share my personal stance just so others can see. With a $12,000 salary for mayor, my take-home pay is $49.77 a paycheck. Through that, and it's because of taxes, and then I pay for my family's insurance. So as mayor of the city of Holly Hill, and all the time and energy I put into this job, I make $49.77. So I get roughly a tank of gas, not even really anymore, and health insurance, and I'm grateful to it. And that's great, because I went into this, and I think we all did, knowing what this pays or doesn't pay, because it doesn't pay. So we do this because we love our city. We're committed to solutions. We're committed to trying to change things. Are we always right? No human is. The only person that I know of that's always been right is Jesus Christ. And so, we do the best that we can. I sacrifice, and I'm sure all of you sacrifice time with your family, sacrifice from your jobs. This is a service. So when bringing this up, I only talk about it because of future commissions. I want to encourage young professionals who can take time out of their careers to be able to serve in office. A lot of times, and I completely don't mean this to be in any disrespect to any commissioner up here, but a lot of times you see in most cities, you have people that are retired that are serving in office. Why? Or multimillionaires. Why? Because they can afford it. People ask me all the time, why do young people not get involved more in politics? And it's not because we don't care. All of my friends care. But the thing is that you have to put your career on hold. I've put my career on hold. I'm looking forward to being able to have my time back. I've served, this is my 8th year in office, and it's been an honor to be able to do so and to take this time and to do this because I love this city. I love this city more than you could ever imagine. And so when we speak about this, I think it's important for the next generation of commissioners to actually get compensated fairly. Now, when we talk about what's happening here tonight, it's been 23 years since, and actually my dad was in office, Arthur, you were in office, and I believe you voted with my dad at the time to actually to stop any increases, take away the beeper allowance, anything like that. And it's been stuck at $12,000 in 2001 for mayor and then commissioners $8,000 and hasn't moved. Now, back in 2001, $12,000 was a lot more money than it is today, and probably went a lot further. Same with the commissioners with $8,000. So the conversation came up over the last couple years. But directly, we've talked about this for several years now. It comes up, but none of us up here wanted to do it because we didn't want to vote ourselves a raise. So now that I'm going out of office, this is easier for me. The next generation of people, I don't know who out here has designs on running, but I hope you do, and I hope that this is easier on you when you're able to get in here. Now, we're not talking about a large amount of money, and Mr. Varga and Ms. Stivell, you asked a good question. What does this mean, dollars and cents? The only reason it's written like this is because it has to be in the title. It is in the agenda, the exact dollar amount. And I could pull it up unless you already have it pulled up.
I got it right here.
You do? You can read it.
So the number that's multiplied by the percentages is listed in the Florida statute, Chapter 145, and it lists that of county commissioner in Volusia County, the salary for that position is $108,757. Now, that's not what they make, but that's what is in the Florida statute. So if we take that number and multiply it for a commissioner times 11.5%, the number is $12,507. And if you take the 108,757 times 17%, it's $18,488.69 for the mayor. And, I'm a mathematician. And so the mayor alluded to there hasn't been any movement since 2001. And so if you assume the 2% annual increase over that 23-year period, the actual number for a commissioner would be $12,615. And so the formula is actually less than that. And the number for the mayor would be $18,922, and the actual formula is less than that. So that's where the numbers came from.
Yep. I just wanted to clear it up, though, because we're not voting ourselves a raise. And I know that you can easily say that on Facebook, and I'm sure you will. I'll wait for it. But excuse me. And so the point to that is that, we have not done this over the years. And so if you look at the formula, I think that it's more than fair for future commissions. And so, so that's where this came from. So I hope that answered any questions. And now we're done with public comment. So I will move to, are there any further questions for the commission? All right, seeing none, I will open the floor for a motion. Motion to approve?
Discussion or no?
Just a motion.
No discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
I understand people are always not happy with government getting a raise, no matter what happens. I've been on this commission since 2012. I've served this is my 12th year. I have 2 years left to my term, and some of you will be happy to know that I'm not running again. So this really isn't a race for myself. Like the mayor said, he's out in November. It's about future potential for people running for office. I don't think you're going to get too many people applying, at least people that truly would be dedicated, try to push forward to continue the positive change in this community. I don't think you'd have people putting up with all the naysayers that we have right now and have had for numerous years. A lot of naysayers with half information, incorrect information. You have to deal with it all the time. That's what you sign up for. You have to have pretty thick skin. And most people are not going to want to put their name in the hat to go through all that for $8,000 a year. I'm sorry, I don't have to pay for insurance for anybody because I have no littles at home anymore. I make $270 every 2 weeks. Please tell me where you're going to go to work, and you're on call 24/7 if something happens in the city. I just don't know where people would go find a way to serve like that for $270 a week, or every 2 weeks, I'm sorry. And so the future of this city almost requires us to do a pay raise for you to be able to get qualified candidates in here that are going to care about this community. I care immensely about this community. I live here like everybody else does. I mean, a lot of times we sit up here and people, I think, in the back of their minds, they just think we willy-nilly approve stuff and we go by somebody else's word or agenda. No, it doesn't happen that way. I spend a lot of time researching our items, researching information, making sure it's going to be something good for this community, and listen to my constituents when they want to talk to me. Do I always agree with them? Absolutely not. And they know that. But I do agree with them a lot of the times as well, and they know that. They know they can count on me to tell them whether I can do something or I can't do something. I'm a rule player. I come from law enforcement. I don't break the rules. I go by the rules, and sometimes that's not always a good thing, but that's the way I do things. And for me to expect somebody to put their name in the ring, to sit up here, and a lot of times what amounts to abuse, having slanderous things said about you, not only in here, but on the Facebook world. That's why I've tried to get away from that. There's a lot of slander that goes around, and people need to be careful with that because there are laws against that too. But who's going to want to sit up here and take that for $8,000 a year? I don't see too many people signing up for it. This year, we've got seats open, 3 seats open, and not too many people have put their hat in the ring yet. I think the most contested seat right now is your seat. So that is a testament to people don't want this aggravation for $8,000 or $12,000 a year. I love serving this community. I do. And I don't really need the extra money. I'm retired. That's just play money for me. I don't do anything with it. It doesn't go to anything in particular. So this really doesn't affect me. I might have it for a year or two. I'm looking out for the future for qualified candidates and to help them maybe compensate a little bit for everything they go through. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did you second the motion? Were you the second? Oh, he was.
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to say
I
anything?
just, a couple of little small things I have to say. I moved to Florida 55 years ago, I believe, if my math is correct. And when I moved to Florida, the pay scale that I was on, the first job I had, I probably made like $2,000 more than that. So I definitely don't think I'm in it for the money. I don't think so. I know a lot of times in the job I have now, I've had to travel from a job I was making a lot of money from, to come back to the city commission meeting and then go back to that job again, which it probably cost me twice as much just to travel back and forth to commission. And also a lot of the commissioners, they donate money too. I donate more money to a charity that will well offset that. When I was a mayor for 2 terms, I donated every single dollar for that 2 years to a very worthy cause. So I don't feel guilty at all about it, believe me. And this is my last term as well. I'm too old to go for another one. And John, I think this is your last term.
It looks that way too.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Just got one thing to say. I have a little heartburn with this health insurance thing, because it just bothers me that the rest of the city doesn't have that, as far as, it doesn't seem to be like in line with the city. The whole thing is, you're talking, the health insurance is the same as, tell me again how this reads.
So there's that, and then the benefits are to pay for health insurance.
But
which
is that,
we
that's for
discussed
us?
At the last meeting. What's that?
Is that for?
Yes, it is, for the whole commission. Well, not for us, for the next commission.
And I can't get it anyway, John.
Is it for just the individuals?
For dependents as well.
Oh, it's for dependents as well, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's the part that I'm struggling with a little bit. That doesn't run the same throughout.
I could agree with you, Commissioner Danio, because our employees don't get that benefit.
That's what I was wondering.
I can agree with that.
So this is the first reading, there's going to be a second reading too, so there's time to change that unless you are changing your motion.
Mr. Simpson, what's the best thing for me to do?
You can make this type of change, you could make a motion.
I already have a motion.
Well, motion, but you make a motion to amend?
I already closed public comment.
Oh, you can't shut down. How you gonna
Yes, I can. Excuse me, sir.
So I can
Conducting a
make
business.
an amendment to
Thank
my
you.
motion?
You can make a motion to.
We did, we answered your question.
No, you didn't.
Excuse me, sir. I'm warning you now. Thank you very much. Please do not speak out. We are trying to conduct business here. We opened public comment and we closed it. We do more public comment than any other city around. 5 minutes, you had your 5 minutes. Thank you. We answered your question. Go ahead, Mr. Simpson.
So what?
Excuse me. Have some respect. Please, Pastor Gabriel. Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
You can make a motion to amend your motion regarding the insurance issue. For instance, if you wanted to make a motion to delete the dependent coverage.
City Clerk, I'll amend my motion.
Make a motion to amend.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend my motion to remove family coverage or dependent coverage to only the candidate, commissioner, mayor, whatever.
Not candidate, commissioner. The
Commission.
Commission,
the
the commission.
The commission coverage only.
Is that clear? Thank you. Well, I've given you a hard time tonight.
We have a motion for an amendment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. So we have, we got to take the amendment first. So now we have the amendment on the table to amend that original motion of approval, but to take out the benefits for health insurance as well.
For dependents.
For dependents only.
For dependents, okay. So we have that, so now we're in debate on that. Commissioner Curry, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm glad you brought that to my attention, because I don't want to do something for any future commissions that our employees do not have access to as well, in the same way.
Anything further?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
So before we vote on that, you know, once again, this doesn't happen in my term. So when I'm long and gone, whoever the next mayor is, this will do that. I use my stance, my circumstance to illustrate what we're trying to do here. And I'm going to be against the motion, and I'm going to be against the raise, because here's what I think is, I think what we're trying to do here, our intention is, as you said, and I fully agree with you, I agree that we want to attract more people to run for office, so we have more candidates running for office. And so, what I discussed previously was that young professionals that may have a spouse or may have children. I take away a lot of time, and I've been blessed in my personal finance in my 20s and now into my 30s to be able to take time away from other career opportunities. And I've worked for myself. I've been blessed to do that. That's not the story for the vast majority of young professionals. And I don't mean young, 20, 30. I mean, even people in their 40s that have families. And so I don't have the opportunity with my time now to go out and get this insurance from somewhere else. So the point to all that is that looking at what's drawn out here, 12, so a commissioner is going to make basically the same thing that the mayor's making now. And if they have a family, they're still going to pay that, and so come out with $49. I don't think that that's going to attract that talent that at least that I'm looking for the next generation of commissioners. And like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight. It is what it is. But the whole point to me bringing this whole thing up was I think that it's fair compensation for a commission, and that's why I brought it up originally. So that's where I'm on it, and I don't know if anyone's going to agree with me here tonight. Yes?
I'm just trying to look at it as a level playing field for the commission and the city employee. It just seems like maybe we should think about upping the base to begin with to help a little bit. Make it 15 and 20 instead of whatever it is, 12 and 18 or something. Just to kind of give a base, to give a little more incentive. I just don't, I have a little heartburn with having something for the commission that's not offered to the employees.
Yeah,
maybe it's just me,
If I may.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Mayor. I do. Where my heartburn comes in is I've never wanted to do something for this commission. We've talked about raises several times. I think we talked about raises before you came on. Capers brought it up several times. And we never did, because some of that time we weren't able to really give much of a raise to our employees. So there was no way I was going to vote a raise for us when we couldn't really do much or anything for the employees. Now, we're trying to take better care of our employees. We're still not where we need to be. I think we would all agree with that, but we do try. I just have heartburn with doing something for this commission or future commissions that we can't do for our employees. And I agree with you, but I have heartburn over that.
All right. Any further? No, we've already closed public comment. Yes, Vice Mayor. We did answer your question. It was 8,488, and for the mayor,
18.
18.
That's what I said, right?
You said 18.
Sorry, I have 8,000 written right here. 18,000. Read it one more time for me, Vice Mayor. 18,000.
So, the proposed would be for the mayor, 18,488, and commissioners, 12,507.
Thank you very much. Okay, the floor is yours.
So I hear what you're saying, and I think you're all saying the same thing, but you're not agreeing on it. So if the intent is to attract someone that, honestly, I pay almost $4,000 a year for this job, because I participate in the family health insurance, which means I donate back my $8,000 a year, and I pay almost $4,000 so my wife and my one child can have health insurance. That's, I don't know what the real number is, but it's about $4,000. Michelle could probably tell us. So if you're trying to attract people to this, I agree with Commissioner Danio and Commissioner Curry that the commission shouldn't receive a benefit that any other employee doesn't receive. So if you're trying to accomplish it, then you would have to, and what's so uncomfortable about this is this commission's talked about doing raises several times in the past, and they've never done it, because the public perception is that we're doing it for ourselves, when in actuality, we're doing it for someone in the future. And so, I'm the numbers guy. So if you take the same Florida statute number, and you're trying to give a benefit to someone to have the family health insurance without doing something differently than any other employee, the only other option is to raise the salary. And so you would have to raise the salary for the commissioners to 18% of that number and to 25% of that number for the mayor to accomplish. That would make the commissioner's salary $19,500 and the mayor's salary $27,000.
Servants, 4 years and out. Be a servant, 4 years
Thank you, sir.
and out.
Thank you very much.
Be a servant, 4 years and out.
Thank you very much. All right, the floor is still yours,
Oh, I've been
Vice Mayor.
serving for 12 years.
So that's the only way to do it. And then
Just ignore him.
That man spews more hate.
So then if you go for that leap, then you're like, oh, that's a huge leap.
Wow.
All right.
So that's the only thing I could see, and so that's a drastic leap, and that might be more than I'm comfortable accepting. So maybe you meet in the middle, and Joe, family health insurance is $800 a month approximately?
$340 a paycheck.
Yeah, $340 every 2 weeks.
$680 every 2 weeks.
$680 a month.
A month.
8,000.
Or a month.
Okay, so,
And then spouse or just kids is $219.90. Paycheck.
so maybe you meet it in the middle. Maybe you say, okay, the way I'm doing numbers in my head here is 2%. If you average it to 2.5% and amortize that over 23 years, maybe it gets you to where you need to be. Maybe it doesn't get you 100% to where you want to be, Mr. Mayor, but it gets you a little more than the way I feel the commission's going right now. Is that the way I feel the commission is going to go right now is they're going to approve the increase without the benefit. And if your goal is to attract more people, then we need a higher base salary. Then that's what we need to discuss, I think.
Well, and the reason I didn't want to attack it that way, and like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight, other than looking at it, if I was just coming into office, you look at what the cash is, right? Takeaway, right? So $49 a paycheck right now, as is at $12,000. So that's roughly what it would be for a commissioner, for the next commission to come in. So I didn't necessarily want to raise all of the salaries, because then that increases. So if for instance, most older people will not have kids, so that family plan wouldn't be paid by the city. So maybe you have a spouse on it. Maybe you don't take insurance at all because you're on, Medicare or anything else, or your job provides it elsewhere. So I'm looking at the net value for future people, young professionals to come, and I think that's I think that's fair. But like I said, it is what it is, and at this time, I don't think we'll be amending the motion to change.
No, and that's fine, but I'm just thinking between first reading and second reading, maybe individually we can talk with Mr. Forte and come up with something that could get more support. Because if this option, have to look at what's the benefit and then what's the cost to the city. Because the actual cost to the city, if we applied it to this commission right now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Johnson doesn't have any dependents. Commissioner Danio
And I can't take insurance at all.
because you have Medicare.
Right. Because I'd be
Right, so
overinsured.
there's no cost, although it could be a huge cost, there's no cost to him. Commissioner Danio just has his wife, and you're just single, right?
Yep. Forrest has his too.
Now, I still have one dependent in college, so I have the family plan, and then you have the young children, so you have the family plan. So if you average it out, it's not a huge cost. The only way it'd be a huge cost if you got five people up here that had, a wife and a dependent. And it doesn't cost any more whether you have one child or 8 children. The cost for the plan is the same. So,
That's to say that the one or the other doesn't have insurance through their work,
right.
Already. Like,
That's the point, yeah.
If, I'm just saying, that's to say that they don't.
Right.
They might have the wife who's got insurance and he's covered, or he's got insurance and she's covered, or vice versa, whatever. So you're assuming that, it's just,
Well, if we still had kids at home, they'd be probably covered under the sheriff's department.
That's
Because
what I'm
Forrest
saying.
would carry them.
I'm just like it seems like apples and oranges to me. It just feels like to do one or the other. And then, what happens if the cost of the premiums increase because of the next commission and the situation with the insurance, and then you gotta,
Then we're back to square one.
then you're kind of thinking about, wait a minute, I'm paying for the commission's family, and I don't know, it just, like you say, you don't have a dog in a fight, I probably won't either, so. But we want to do, like we always have, make sure we do the right thing.
I definitely don't have a dog in that fight.
Yeah,
And I have a fight for 2 years. I mean,
yeah.
so it's definitely not personal.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, we have the amendment to vote on first. Any further discussion on the amendment?
So where are we
So
at?
what we're doing is,
Okay.
so there's a motion on the floor to approve this as written. Then there was an amendment made to that. So now we have to vote on the amendment first, which says that we are taking out the dependents' health care. That's what this amendment is on. So if you agree with that, you vote yes. If you disagree with
second
it, you vote no.
Okay.
And then after that, then we'll have a motion. So, does that make sense?
Are we doing a roll call vote?
No, we can just do it, unless you ask for it.
I think we should do a roll call vote.
Okay, we have a request for a roll call vote. Val, can you please call the roll on the amended motion?
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Penny?
Yes.
Commissioner Danio?
Yes.
Mayor Via?
No. All right, so now that passes 4-1, the amended motion. So now we have the amended motion on the floor
No, the
as
original.
amended. The original motion as amended. So is there further discussion on that? All right. You want a roll call again?
Good idea.
Okay. Val, please call the roll call vote.
Commissioner Curry?
Hold
Hang
on,
a
wait,
second.
pause.
We're voting on the original motion with the dependent coverage.
As
we've
amended.
not-
'Cause the-
The
the
original
amended-
motion with the
We
dependent
follow up
coverage.
on the other one.
Okay, so now it's,
Okay.
Just,
Second.
it's
Yes,
just the,
the
it's just
amendment
the
just
salary.
basically changes it, so.
okay,
So
so
to
now
be
we're
clear-
voting on,
Hey, Mayor, we made a mistake on the last one, because I wasn't the second on the
On
amendment.
the amendment?
Yes, you were.
I was.
I
No,
thought-
you were on the second one.
Oh, you're right, Daniel was, yeah.
On the amended, I
on
said,
the amended, yeah.
Does it change your vote, or are you good?
No.
All right, so I think we're good, but just for the record, for the amendment, Commissioner Danio seconded the amendment, but on the original motion, it was seconded by Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's okay, it was just in the order that it came. So now you're correct in your roll call vote to go
Okay.
Curry, Johnson, then Penny, and Danio. Okay, so please call the roll.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Penny?
No.
Commissioner Danio?
Sure where I'm at. No, right? Because I'm not.
I voted
This is
no.
the
All right.
first one.
What you're voting on is the raise, the pay raise without dependent coverage.
That's what I thought.
Without dependent coverage.
Without dependent coverage, now has been taken.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, and
Mayor Van.
no. So it passes 3-2. All right.
First reading.
That made no sense.
Yes, for the first reading, so there will be a second reading on that. Now we're moving to communications. Mr. Forte.
So the only thing I wanted to bring up this evening, Mayor, was I want to get some direction from you or some support from you with regard to the concerts that we're doing over at Pictona, at the Metro Health Stadium. So the attendance is very, very poor for the concerts. But and Mayor, you'll probably know more about this than what I'm going to say. The number of people that are attracted to the website to buy tickets is very high. 2,500 people that looked at the Hayfire concert, but they didn't buy tickets. And I think it's partially because Hayfire can be seen for free at a lot of other venues, and we're competing to charge people for what they could see for free. So I think what I'm asking you to do is, the next contract that we have up is Reed Foley in May, and we have no tickets sold. So what I'd like to do is maybe for the next two concerts, is try something different and advertise it as, kind of like the band shell does. If you go to the band shell, it's a free concert unless you're under the shell. So what I'd like to do is offer the bleacher seats for free, and then floor seats in the a little bit more comfortable chairs is $5, and then the box seats that are contained as $10. Now, there'll be a cost to the city. It'll probably cost us about $6,000 to put that event on, but we're not making the money anyway. So it's just another attempt to try to see if that's going to change the attendance records and maybe move in that direction. But if we keep doing what we're doing and we keep getting what we're getting, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, weren't we talking about just sometime in the last 2 or 3 months about giving those bleacher seat tickets away? It'd be the same thing.
Well, we gave them away as part of a promotion through one of the radio stations because it was considered, it had a value. So if it has a value, you could negotiate that with the radio station for advertisement time. Well, it's just not.
Well, I think our social media is fantastic with getting the word out. I see it all the time. I try to share it myself, but, and I don't have a problem, Mr. Mayor, with the grandstand seats, because we originally built this part of Pictona with that in mind, the concerts, any other activities that we might be able to come up with to put there. But that's why the special flooring was purchased to put down on that court. That's why everything we did was in preparation for having community activities there once a month, like the concerts. And I'm good with letting them come in and sit in those bleacher seats for free and charging minimal for the other seats, like you're saying. I'm good with that, Mayor, because I think that's the purpose in that place.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say to it is, and I'm going to go back to before I was ever commissioner or mayor, and someone in the audience here that lives on Burley Avenue used to come up quite a bit and made an impression on me about music in the park. I think that you used to speak about that almost at every commission meeting that I used to attend, and I thought it was a great idea, especially because I love music. I'm a musician myself, and I think it's great to build a better community. So, as we look with the renewal of the CRA, I want us to look at, because look, when we all got into this, we didn't know, we have done free community events where we just bring the band in and we do everything and allow that to happen. I would like to see us do more of that. I think that's the original intent. And then if we can get it big enough to where you have enough people coming, then I think you have I don't want to say fan base, but the community is tied in. And then you get a big a big artist that comes in. And I'm not talking a local, Hayfire's an amazing band, but the problem is, like I said to you, you can go anywhere and see them for free. And just like Johnny Reed Foley, who's commissioner in Port Orange, a dear friend of mine, you know, I can go get dinner somewhere on a Saturday night and listen to him.
That's why I recognized him.
He plays all over, and he's
I couldn't
amazing.
figure out where I knew that name.
And he's got a new song that's actually kind of working on some of the country charts.
he's
But
really hit
he's still a couple years away from being able to sell seats in this area, at least. He does in Nashville. But so my point to that is what I would like this commission to look at, especially with the renewal of the CRA, is I think the intent always was exactly like Mr. Glary used to say over a decade ago, was music in the park, bring people together, bring the community together. I know this commission has always supported that in the past. Now, is there a cost to it? There is a cost to it. So we do have to look at what that is, of course. But also, too, it doesn't have to be music. You know, musicians can be expensive because they have to bring a band, they have to have a good PA, they have to have a sound man. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just the 90 minutes that they get up and play. I know that firsthand. So, you know, but other things, and Ms. Forte, you and I have talked about, you know, a comedy show. It's a lot less to get a comedian here and to host a community night. Now, is there still cost to that? Of course, we got to pay for cleanup and all of that stuff. But all of the events that we host, really in the city, we have costs to. We do the Easter egg event, and you know, there's costs that go into that. There's the parade, and so I think that there is a level of community support out there to support these community type events. So what I would like, Mr. Forte, and I don't know if I have agreeance up here, is for us to look into actually making these events free. Now, if there's upgrades, now that doesn't mean that we can't, do we make the concession sales, or is that through them? Okay, well, you know, if there is an upgrade that someone wants to pay, I mean, we could look at ways to do that. But what I want to look at is just how to make it free to the end user in our community.
What I'm proposing is the bleachers are free, the floor seats are $5, and the
For this concert,
Is it worth 5 and 10? It can't, is it 10 and 20 sounds,
I'm trying to separate because I don't want people to, there's got to be a separation somehow, because if you offer.
yeah, but I mean, 5 seems kind of, it should be like, maybe like 10 and 20. I mean, is it really?
I don't know if it should, because I think it's $5 at the band shell to get,
Is it?
to get a seat.
Is that where you're coming up with
Yeah.
$5?
No, I pulled it.
This just doesn't seem
You
like
just
it's worth
made it
the
up,
effort for
yeah.
$5.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but you have
think
to
about it.
have, I mean, otherwise, people are going to try to get those seats
Right.
over to, I'm good with the bleachers for free.
No, the bleachers for free.
Right.
I agree with that. We've already talked about it.
5
But
and 10, 5 for the floor, 10 for the.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair.
Vice Mayor's been waiting patiently.
Oh, sorry.
Floor.
No,
Sorry.
I'm following the mayor on this. I think they should all be free, like the band shell is. But
Band shell's not free under the shell.
I understand, but I don't think there's any difference between sitting on the floor and sitting in the bleachers. It should be free to anyone. The only people that you have to pay to reserve a box seat.
I would do away with that.
And, what's that?
I would do away with the box seats. If it's going to be free, then it might as well make it all free and not have box seats.
just put seats out
Let
there.
it first come, first serve for the floor.
But I think I think people that really follow a band would pay for the box seats.
To get front row
And
center.
to get front row. And the problem we have is that every band we have coming up, you can see, our Friends Electric or My Friends Electric, whatever, you can see them any Saturday on A1A, up and down.
Great band, great
It's a
band.
great band.
But yeah, you can see them.
But, so I think the floor and the bleachers should be free and the box seats should be a cost, because you got to set them up, you got to set up the chairs. And there are people that will pay the $10 to sit front row center. Maybe I don't know how many we have, but maybe we don't need as many. Maybe we only need
2 rows.
10 of them. Maybe, I think there's like, I don't know how many, maybe you only need 10 of those box seats. That's 40 seats. Because the worst thing, and I was out of town for this concert, but I can only imagine, as a musician, the worst thing to do is to play to an empty crowd.
It is.
And for Hayfire, which is an amazing band, I've seen them several times, to perform for 50 people, it's almost embarrassing for us as a city if we invited them back, we're not coming back there. You can't even get 100 people to watch us. You know, every Friday, there's 300 people watching them in DeLand. So I think the only thing that we should charge for are the box seats. And then you got to talk about, if we're going to do that, then we've been charging $5 for parking. Do we eliminate parking and just let them park willy-nilly?
Eliminate the parking.
I say just keep it simple. The only people that have to pay anything are the box seats.
I agree. And I'm glad you brought the parking issue up, because I would like to see that as well. I know it goes to a great cause, Kiwanis, it's
No, but I mean,
donated, but
the whole idea is to fill the stadium, not
exactly.
to generate revenue for a nonprofit. So that's,
And so building off of that too, while we're talking about it, I think, long-term, we could maybe develop some type of quarterly community event, where each quarter, I hesitate to say it because at first I was thinking the first Saturday of every month, but we can't do that. That's too much. But something to where we kind of have a regular rotation to where we can promote something. And Hayfire is a great band to go out and get and bring, and then we pay for that band to come. And the cost isn't astronomical because they're a regional type band, they're not large, but at the same time, and then you have it free so people can come, but kind of make it more like a community event, like really brand it Holly Hill Community Music Night, and then the next time bring in a magician, bring in a comedian, those types of things. I think that would be really neat to bring the community together, and I think it serves the purpose of exactly what we all intended in the first place, because when Pictona came to us, they didn't want the stadium. It was us up here that said that you need to have a stadium so we can hold community events.
and to parlay off that, and we don't have an event coordinator on staff here at the city, but once a quarter, maybe start once every 6 months. But if we could coordinate with Pictona, and if you had a day-long Holly Hill or Volusia County event over there, and maybe you had some guy out there making kettle corn in the grassy area, and some lady selling macrame pot holders or whatever, and then, that's going to be from 11 to 5. Then there's going to be a barbecue served by Pictona, and then at 6:30, there's a free concert.
Yeah.
And you could have, get back together and try it.
That'd be neat, yeah.
But that would take coordination with Pictona. So I think it could be successful. We got to try something different, because what we're doing right now isn't working.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I know we threw a lot at you, Mr. Forte.
Well, we've already talked about a lot of those ideas internally with some of the staff, so I didn't hear anything here that we haven't already talked about, so it's not impractical or impossible for us to try to do.
All right, so do you need any further direction?
No, but just, we'll figure out a price for the box seats. Maybe it's just $20 for the box, $5 a seat.
That's, some kind of upgrade.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Right up front. All right.
Okay.
Anything further?
Nope, I just hope we can fill the stadium.
All right. Mr. Simpson?
No comment.
Okay. Val? Okay, I have some stuff tonight. So, wanted to bring up Mr. Walker. I wanted to ask you where we are at with the Nova and Flomish property, the car wash that was going in there, and I know we spoke about it the last couple of meetings, so I understand that they stopped the last information was that they had a demolition permit, you approved that, and then you found out that actually they told the contractor they're not demoing it like they told us. So where are we with that?
The process at this point is to send them a letter letting them know our intention to eventually bring them to the city commission if they do not rectify the situation. A title search has been ordered already. Once I get the results of that, I will need to send the letter to anyone that is listed as having an interest in the property. Then we have to give them 30 days to come into compliance. If at the end of the 30 days they're not in compliance, we then have to send them another letter stating now we're going to schedule you for a hearing before the city commission, and then once that time once the date arrives for that, then it will come before you.
Okay. So that will come before us to, is the process condemnation, or is it what we did previous on the Aniston property?
Nothing like Aniston property. It's going to be a condemnation. The building officials go out there, determine that it's, the building is in danger of falling because it is falling apart. And then they go to the special master. The special master agree that based on the building official's testimony that the building is a hazard and should be torn down. And then we'll bring that recommendation back to the commission.
Great.
So it'll be condemned, not unfit for human occupancy.
Good.
The city manager is 100% correct. I just wanted to let him know and let the commission know that it already did go before the special master. That process already did occur.
Good.
So, and the special master did say that pending a ruling of same from the city commission, that the property could be demoed.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Was I to understand at our last meeting when we discussed this, that they're being fined?
They are being fined $1,000
$1,000
a
a
day.
day, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that building is terrible.
Yeah, great. So I think the will of this commission, unless there's any objection, to keep moving forward with that. So public health and safety is number one, as fast as we can get that here before us. That's what I'd like to see. Next, and I think I'll let you, Mr. Forte, speak about this. I wanted to bring up again 618 Flomish. So we have, this has been a long saga, as this commission fully knows. We have spoken about this item at more commission meetings now than I can count. And so I'm sure you've all kind of seen what happened through news outlets, and then the city manager and I joined Sheriff Chitwood over at his headquarters to give an update after there was a large drug bust at 615 Flomish, where they arrested.
618,
What did I say?
615.
Oh, 618, I have it right here, too. 618 Flomish, where there was a large drug bust where they arrested 6 people and recovered over enough fentanyl, 24 grams of fentanyl, that's enough to kill over 3,000 people. So, you know, our concerns were warranted up here. We all said over and over that we wanted staff to move as expeditiously as possible, and you have, and I want to thank you, Mr. Forte, and your staff, and of course, our police department and the sheriff for helping with that to that end. Now, just so we're all aware, you know, and I stated publicly that we're not done. We're not going to stop until this is completely resolved. And so where we're at now, if you haven't gone by the property is completely boarded up, and that was directed. There was an opportunity for Mr. Forte to send our public works to board up the property. That happened. Mr. Simpson has been in contact with the foreclosure attorney, and I've been copied on those emails, and I want to thank you publicly, Mr. Simpson, for working so hard on this as well, to make sure that we had the injunctive relief motion filed in the court to be able to, in the foreclosure process, to be able to get the authority to be able to trespass these people. So now where we're at is there is stuff still on the property, and I'll let Mr. Forte speak to that because I know something this week you are directing. Is that correct?
Well, I have my Public Works crew that's scheduled to go out there on Friday to remove all of the trash and debris that's on the rest of the property. Did send an email through Scott to the attorney requesting that he compensate the city for that cost, which would be less than $5,000 between the labor, the equipment, and the tipping fees and the rental of the 30-yard dumpster. We heard back from the attorney who said that he's got to clear that with his client, but he doesn't think his client would be willing to pay for that cost, that he thinks he might be able to get a crew on there to get it done themselves. But I don't want to wait for that. So even if we can't get an agreement with the attorney to move forward, we may still do this on Friday and then put a non-ad valorem assessment on the property to be reimbursed for the expenses that we put out for the cleaning of the property.
The attorney, I think, even mentioned in email response back that it might be better instead of his client agreeing to pay, that the city lien the property, because there's, they believe there's enough equity in there between the loan amount and what it's worth, that the city could be reimbursed that way, so. But I think he was going to try to get back to us.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
You said he's going to try to get back tomorrow.
Tomorrow, with whether or not the bank will send a crew out there to clean it up first. And that would ideally be the better scenario, if they do a good job, so.
And the other thing, just to make note of, is the foreclosure process is still moving forward, and according to the attorney, even as successful as they are in doing the contacts and the notifications that they are doing, it's still going to be a 3 to 4 month process to go through the remainder of that foreclosure.
Until they fully have possession of the property.
Cleared.
Well, you gotta go through the you gotta get everybody served, they have so many days to respond, then you have, what's that? Yeah, and then you have to default everybody and get a final judgment, then you gotta schedule the foreclosure sale, so all that just, there's time limits in the rules that have to be followed for all that.
Right. All right, well, thank you for that update, and I just want to say I appreciate staff and our police department and everybody involved to get us to this point. So we, another thing that I have tonight is, when are we heard tonight from, I think it was Mr. Legary brought up some of his ideas for the CRA. We talked tonight about potentially talking about community events for the CRA. When are those recommendations from everybody, when are those presented back to the commission? What, do you know when that is? Is that, because I know now they completed they invited all of the public, anybody who wanted to come, and there was many, many people who came, which, by the way,
They were
was
well attended.
very well. Like, I was very
pleased.
pleasantly surprised how
I
many
look at my
people
notes,
showed
but I don't need to look. I met with John Cox this morning, and in my update with him, he had the list of the next steps in this process, but there were no dates. So I said to him, you got to go back and you got to give me dates, because I'm going to be asked about when.
Yeah.
So,
and sorry, I did too.
no, and that's
Should
what I
ask
told
you
him.
beforehand.
I said, it's nice to know that these are the next steps, but I want milestone dates in there. So he's supposed to be getting me back, and as soon as I get that, I'll shoot it out to everybody so you kind of have a ballpark idea.
Great. Yeah, I'm really encouraged by, I went around and read a lot of the ideas that people had, and some were good, some were not possible, some were in between. So I think that we'll have a lot to draw from, and it'll still be an inclusive process along the way, and everybody's invited to attend those meetings and to also give your input then, because I want the best ideas to win out. I don't care who they're from. That's just the way that this should work. Lastly, I would just want to thank everybody in the audience for coming tonight and spending so much time with us. And specific thank you to Mr. Hobson. Thank you for everything you do for the city, in the historical front, and spreading that positivity online through that. We really appreciate what you do, and our history is so important. If you don't understand our history, then you don't understand where we can be headed. So I appreciate that, and want to give you congratulations and thanks for moving over to Sika Hall. For anyone that is interested, the Holly Hill Museum will be expanding and moving over to Sika Hall. So we're excited for that. So thank you for coming here tonight. We appreciate that. So with that, that's all I have to say, and we'll go over to our Vice Mayor for comments.
May 11th. May 11th? May 11th. There's a lot of stuff going on in this city on May 11th.
Yeah, there is.
From 9 a.m. to 11, the Holly Hill School will be hosting a fishing clinic at Sunrise Park. We're one of only 2 schools in Volusia County that has a fishing club. So that's from 9 to 11. Then from noon to 4, we're having the fundraiser at the Copper Bottom Distillery for the summer reading program for our school. And then immediately after that, from 4 to 5, there's a ribbon cutting and dedication of the Etna Gardens at Pictona. So a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. And then May 30th is the Volusia League of Cities dinner in Deltona.
RSVP to that today.
That's all I got.
Is anyone else going to that?
I'm going.
I won't make it.
Yes, and also to throw it in before we go to you, Commissioner Curry, when we're talking about May 8th.
I was just noted that.
Sorry, I jumped you. Well, then I'll let you say it.
No, go ahead, Mayor.
Well, for anyone listening out there, so on May 8th at 6 PM on the front lawn of City Hall, we will have the dedication to our Veterans Memorial, the monument. If you're not aware, there's 15 names. It's uncovered right now. This is supposed to be an unveiling, but since it was taking so long, we had to unveil it so that way it wouldn't maybe get any mold or anything. We didn't want to damage it. So it is unveiled. You can go take a look at it. There's 15 names on there of men that lived in Holly Hill that served our country and died in service to our country. So their names are on there and their dates are on there forever, etched in stone. The history of City of Holly Hill, we are honoring them. So be there at May 8th. At 6 PM. Everyone is welcome, and it will be a short service to dedicate that. So, sorry to
No, you're
jump your
good,
gun.
you're good.
6 PM. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's 1,800 hours.
Same thing.
1,800, yeah.
I just wanted to say, as far as the CRA meetings, I was really pleased with the attendance. It's awesome when we can get the citizens and the business of this community to come out and share their ideas, because Lord knows I need all the help I can get with ideas. I'm not so creative anymore. So it's awesome to be able to listen to the ideas and know that several of them are really possible. So I'm encouraged by that, and I'm encouraged with the future that we have set up with this as far as maintaining some input from our community. I just wanted to expand on your 618 comments, Mayor. On the night of the drug bust, or the afternoon of the drug bust, that was actually conducted by the East Volusia County Narcotics Task Force, which we have a member of our police department that's been on for years. And what they do is they go community to community on the east side doing these operations. So it was part of that task force that went in to conduct this operation with our officers and some sheriff department backup as well. The officers that are on that task force are from the different communities. So it was actually a really large group effort for this community. And I just wanted people to understand that. And as far as Pictona, because there's been a lot of misinformation, and I just want people to understand that Pictona is not a millionaires club. By golly, I am nowhere near being a millionaire or wealthy, and I'm a member there. So that's untrue. The Martins Charities actually contributed more than $8 million, am I correct in that?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think it's
Six.
I think it's around $8 million that they've contributed through that charity. And that complex is ours. I hear all the time, and I run these corrections all the time, Mayor, with people, and they are really appreciative when I explain it to them. That complex is ours. It's the city's. That doesn't belong to anybody dealing with Pictona. That is Holly Hill's facility. Pictona runs it for us. They run it through the fees they get from members like myself, the tournaments that they hold there on a monthly basis, the gardens that have a ribbon cutting coming up, they are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better job to be done there. So when you guys go there, unfortunately, I'm going to be out of state, as we well know, that day, so I won't be able to attend. But it's beautiful. They have put back money into that complex, and I encourage you to go to that ribbon cutting just to see those gardens. They've done a fantastic job. Over there at Pictona 1 is a recreation center for this community that has a 9-hole putting course, I think is what it's called. I'm not a golfer, so I don't know. I did play there one time. They have cornhole, they have croquet, they have all the equipment you could need to do that stuff. All you got to do is go in and sign out for it. You don't have to be a member. The only thing you have to be a member to Pictona for is to hit the pickleball course, or you pay a daily fee or a monthly fee. That is it. You're not paying for anything else over there but to play pickleball. They have yoga classes in the senior center. They have dance classes. There's a lot offered that people don't know about that we've tried to get out in the community. And the only thing I can suggest, Mr. Forte, is some of our operators of the Facebook page, maybe they can detail some of that information, if everybody else isn't opposed to it, to try to get it out there, because people don't realize what is offered over there for the community. And it's all free.
And you can play Pickleball 101 for free.
Well, you can play Pickleball 101, but if you want to hit the courts, you do have to pay either a daily, a monthly, or a yearly membership. But that's just for the pickleball courts. Pictona 2, we have what we talked about earlier, was the championship stadium. Special flooring was bought to put down over that court so that we could utilize it as a city for events. And I'm glad to see that we're going to offer those concerts for free or very minimal cost for the floor seats, because I think that's needed. That was my vision, at least, when we did that. And I just think it might bring the community together a little more. And lastly, they also offer youth programs over there. They offer youth camps for pickleball. They offer youth tournaments where, if you're an old person like me, you can't get in there. It's all the youth, 17 and under. They're doing amazing things over there. UBIC goes over there and plays for their PE classes. So there's a lot going on over there that people just don't realize, because they wanted to have hatred, thinking that we had a rec department, that we took away baseball. Baseball hasn't been there for 20 or 15 to 20 years. We tried many times since I've been on the commission to get kids interested in that again. It wasn't happening. I'm sorry to tell you, but our youth is more interested in this, unfortunately. That's just how it is. My grandson is the same way. They're not interested in being outside anymore. So I think we made the best use out of that park to get the most for our tax dollars. So I just wanted to clear that stuff up, and I really wish people would try to talk to us before they give such misinformation out, because then it just fuels the rest of the community with negativity. And I think if we start working positive with each other, we could really do something in this community. We've tried to improve it over the years. This commission knows that. But the community still just wants to look at all the negative. I got 2 years left up here, 2.5 years. And I intend to continue improving this community, because I got to live here. I've got to live here just like everybody else. So I want to make this the best city it can possibly be, even past my term. Because I don't plan on leaving this city. I'm going to do some traveling, but I'm not leaving. So just try to work with me. Let's start being positive about our approaches. Let's come up with some positive ideas. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Daniel.
Mr. Daniel's positive that we've been here too long.
That's all I have.
Is that a motion?
I'm positive.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'm kind of glad she brought that up, because lots of times people will go do research. They don't really know anything about what's going on at all. They'll go do research and get like partial little pieces of a truth, of partial information. And then they're so full of hatred for other things, they'll put them together, and it's like ammunition they use against you or something like that. I hear it one-on-one more than you guys do about that. And it's hard to, when somebody's wanting to do a one-sided conversation, it's hard to get any information back across, because it's really, some people look at it, maybe one person, I don't know, looks at it like it's just strictly for the rich people, and you can't convince them that it's not, you know, I mean, it's a place that's open to the public. I try to convince them that, like you say, it belongs to the city. Somebody else puts most of the money into it, that's like a perfect investment. Somebody say, well, okay, here's your property, I'm gonna put 7/8 of the money into it to make it really nice and all, and we get to use it for certain things, but you're still gonna own all the property, 100% of it, but we're gonna put like 3/4 to 7/8 of the money into it. I mean, that's the way that I look at it with that project over there. And even when little Dallas was little and I'd ride around with him on a golf cart over there, he'd say, well, Papa, why is it, it's like a ghost town over here. There's nobody over here. We'd go over sometime on Sunday and be there for hours, and hardly, maybe one or two people you see all day long, you know what I mean? So we didn't beat anybody out of baseball fields or anything like that. Everybody has already moved on to somewhere else where they could play baseball, like in Ormond and different places and travel teams and all that and all. So I just wish that somehow or another we could get all this information through to some people that just really doesn't want to believe it, you know what I mean? It just, people pick up on part of the truth and they run with it, you know what I mean? That's what it is, you know. You can go to the tax rolls and pick anything off of it and say, well, this is what we're spending money on, but how much money does somebody else put into it? So, and you know, the other thing I have really is tomorrow is another TPO meeting, so if anybody has anything that would like for me to bring up or anything, I'd be glad to do it. And I still think that the community and the development is outgrowing a lot of the roads. I mean, there's still projects on LPGA right now that is finishing up. You know, there's apartment complexes are finishing up. They're going to have a lot of people into them. A lot of people, more and more people is going to be there and all. And some people just don't want to make LPGA wider from Nova Road to US 1. But I think it's been a necessity for quite a while because I drive on it quite a bit. And I honestly believe pickleball is going to keep moving forward faster and faster and faster. And then they're going to eventually do the RV park on Flomish. I believe that'll take off and get done, and all that'll be a part of pickleball. And like I always say, GPS is going to guide you from both interstates right on the LPGA, you know what I mean? So it's going to be overloaded more than it already is. So like I say, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we have another meeting, so if anyone has anything to add, just bring it up and do it, you know. But if anybody's against widening LPGA, no matter what they try to convince me of, I'm always going to be for it, you know what I mean?
Me too.
Good.
Me too. All right. With that being said, is there any further business before this commission? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
That being the case.